Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's edition of your weekly news omnibus here at the Sunday Wire. I'm Bryan McClain, broadcasting live out of Central Texas today. My goodness, what can we say? The geopolitics this week, well, seems like escalation without end. That is the title for today's show. And we've seen pretty much peace talks falling through, a lot of war machinery, a lot of aircraft carriers, a lot of refueling jets and fighter jets moving toward Iran, moving toward the Middle East, lurking in the Middle East. And we're all sitting here on X kind of with bated breath, wondering what comes next, because it certainly doesn't seem like de-escalation is a theme right now. Unfortunately, I wish we had better news than that. Ukraine peace talks not looking great. And of course, we got all the domestic stuff. We've got the ongoing media mushroom cloud of the Jeffrey Epstein email dumps and documents. It's so much stuff. My goodness. It's just like you can keep like a greatest hits record nearby. I was on Out of This World with Jamie Hanshaw this week, and she had some of the Epstein Drops greatest hits going on there as we closed out that show. And it just strikes me, my goodness, like we already had such low buy-in, such low faith in institutions, in politicians, in systems, uh, media. Don't get me started on media and our level of skepticism and lack of trust that needs to be in hand when dealing with the mass media. But here we are, and we're still missing a whole bunch of those things. Jason Burmis did a really interesting presentation. He was talking about all the dates that are just not in these files. Some of them are hauntingly close to 9/11. Some really interesting stuff going on in there. But this is something that people are going to be looking at for a long, long time, unless something comes along and distracts us, like an escalation, like never-ending escalation towards technocracy, never-ending escalation towards a new technocratic world order. How authoritarian will it be? I don't know. You tell us. It's up for debate. Let me bring Adam Clark aboard here. We've got the Ruckus among us here on the Sunday Wire today. Adam, welcome to the Sunday Wire. Yet another week of just a cacophony of posting on X and all the other places, particularly about all the military hardware moving toward the Middle East. In the Middle East right now. A lot of crazy rhetoric coming from the political Zionists this week. I mean, we got some clips, we got some examples, but my goodness, man, what's your overall thought as to where we are rolling into this week's Sunday Wire, episode 583?
I think you're exaggerating, sir. Everything's fine. Everybody needs to just calm down. This is totally normal, this type of maneuvering that we're seeing happening in that part of the world. In fact, we saw this happen not that long ago. Okay, well, I mean, how many years went to 2003, the Iraq thing? You remember we had like what we called a war? No, this is actually pretty darn serious. This is literally, historically speaking, the largest U.S. military buildup near that region, specifically Iran, since the 2003 Iraq war. That's what's happening right now. One of our listeners was in our Discord earlier, and it was little Carle. I'm not doxing her, but she probably wouldn't mind me sharing this comment. She says, I stayed up late. I slept in. Did I miss the war? Did the war start? I mean, like everybody went into the weekend thinking that this was it. And this is the big one, everybody. And then like all the news reports are like, yeah, we expect some action is going to happen anytime now. It should probably happen on Monday. I think the general consensus is 2 weeks is the deadline. But I do have the report card, courtesy of a nice little AI summary here, because It's a lot of equipment that they've sent out there. How much? Well, let's see. Thanks to Washington's deployment of an extensive array of air and naval forces, this buildup includes two, not one, but two aircraft carrier strike groups. That in and of itself is pretty significant. That includes the USS Abraham Lincoln and the USS Gerald R. Ford. Those are positioned in the Arabian Sea and the Persian Gulf, as you will see in the graphic I made there for the show today. That's featured that region right there rather nicely. So each of those strike groups are carrying dozens of advanced aircraft, not just the little toys that they send to Ukraine to get destroyed, but the F-35 stealth fighters, the F-18 Super Hornets, and electronic warfare jets. We've heard some disturbing stories of the use of something called the discombobulator. I'm not sure if that's on the scene or not, Hesher. But we've got the air power you mentioned. More than 120 aircraft. Does that seem like overkill? That's F-22 Raptors, F-15s, F-16s, and B-2 stealth bombers. Sadly, not the B-52s. I like them. They were all placed on alert in the U.S. support assets like aerial refueling tankers. You mentioned them. We've got the early warning systems going. There's reconnaissance aircraft. You name it, it's out there. This is not a drill. This is not a show of force. This is we are getting for war. Okay, so in my little AI summary, it says that the Pentagon is preparing for, hope you're sitting down for this one, quote unquote, sustained weeks-long military operations if diplomacy fails. Trump himself has stated that the buildup that I just mentioned there, and that was only a little piece of it, is necessary, quoting Trump here, in case we don't make a deal, end quote. So yeah, all eyes on Trump, whether or not he's going to make the deal or not. And my question is, Hesher, whose war is this anyways? That dude is nothing but a puppet, as far as I'm concerned. And I think ultimately, at the end of the day, we should probably figure out who's pulling this guy's strings. But I think we already know the answer to that, don't we?
We've got Basil Valentine popping in as well. Basil, welcome to the Sunday Wire. Thanks for joining us. It's a very tense weekend. It looks like we've got Patrick in the background. We're going to try to bring him back in if we can get a good audio connection. Let me check one more time with him before you open up here, Basil. Patrick, any luck? Are you back? Nope, still can't hear you, man. I'm going to put you backstage. All right. Basil, welcome to the program, man. It's been a pretty intense week. Everybody's got their eyes on Iran right now. What are you thinking, man?
Well, just as well, Patrick isn't there this week. He was there last week because, well, the story is that Trump is cornered, isn't it? That the Israelis have got him in a full Nelson. And he loses face if he backs down. But it might be limited strikes that we get. It might be the sort of, tokenistic attack in order to appease the lobby, but without doing any significant damage and without inviting much retaliation. We'll see. The Russians and the Chinese have been doing joint naval maneuvers with the Iranians. So there's always the possibility of a wider conflagration. I did see a report that the Chinese foreign minister had condemned Israel in no uncertain terms. That was doing the rounds on social media as a meme. But then when you go and look for that in more detail, it's not available to be found, So, we're all in the dark, really, aren't we? We don't know what's going on. Gilad Atzmon, who's been on the program before, talked about how these two real estate agents, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, both Israel firsters, are the ones now apparently driving American foreign policy with little Marco Rubio firmly in their pocket. And when you factor in the really insane, very dangerous garbage coming out of Mike Huckabee in his interview with Tucker Carlson, then you've got a very dangerous situation because you're dealing with very low IQ religious fundamentalists, certainly in Mike Huckabee's case. I mean, he's a real embarrassment to all Americans that Trump has put this educationally subnormal individual in a position of such influence as ambassador. There was big pushback over the last couple of days from some of the client Arab states about Huckabee saying he would be fine if Israel took over the whole of the Middle East. I'm pleased to say that he's been widely rebuked on that score, but nevertheless, the fact that somebody like that in Tel Aviv is absolutely absurd. The official foreign policy of the United States, from what we can gather, unless the State Department have updated it, is that they still support the mythical two-state solution, nominally at least. And Trump himself has said he opposes the formal annexation of the West Bank, but all the while the Knesset is passing laws to make the theft legal, if such a thing can ever happen, And Huckabee had the audacity to start talking about international law and how the ICC and the ICJ had disqualified themselves simply because they've gone against the genocider in chief in Israel. So it would be a dark enough situation as it is, were it not for the fact that you've got such appalling people in the White House and representing the United States at the moment. Are there any wise or sensible heads?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, Patrick.
Okay. Sorry, we have to be quick because we have a situation here on the ground. So what we're gonna do is let me just reverse the situation here. So, guys, we're in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, and the city has been shut down. There's a cartel war. As you can see, there's a burning bus in the back. The city is shut down. The airport shut down. The smell of burning cars, tires in the air. Apparently, what happened last night, and I'm just going to give you this download quick because we have to move. But what happened? A cartel member was apprehended by the police forces in Mexico here, and apparently the retribution came this morning. And streets are shut down. The airport shut down. People are being pulled from taxis. Apparently, some people have been killed as well, robbed, etc. They're trying to. The cartels are attempting to shut down the economy here. So it's also happening in other parts of the country in Mexico as well. So yeah, this just behind me is a bus that was inserted here in the morning and then set on fire in order to block this main thoroughfare. And this is all around the city, on all the major junctions. So people have been ordered to shelter in place until somehow some sense is made of this. But again, the international airport here is shut down. This is a large city of, I believe, I don't know what the population here is, but I think it's in excess of 1 million. So it's not a small city, but this is basically what's happening here. So it's a pretty incredible situation.
Wow. Were you scheduled to leave, Patrick? Are you stuck there now?
Yeah, not leave yet, but I was scheduled to leave soon, but they'll probably have to reroute. We'll probably have to reroute the travel on that as well. So I can send you some clips when we get off air, some close-up clips of some of the damage and so forth. But yeah, it's a pretty incredible situation. So the federales are out. The Mexican army has been deployed to Puerto Vallarta. So that's basically the situation, and so it's very unstable at the moment. All business and commerce. There's going to be power outages today. Apparently, that has been attacked. Telecoms are on, but it's I mean, unbelievable. Life was normal as of 8 a.m. this morning, and all of a sudden it wasn't. So it's unbelievable. We'll try to get a little bit closer so you can get an idea of the damage, but we'll see, so you can get an idea of the situation. What I'll do is I'll turn it around for you, and we'll try to get closer.
If I were you, I would just go back to my hotel, Patrick, and stay there.
Yeah, really. Patrick, what are the demands of these cartels right now? Is it multiple cartels? Is it one cartel pissed off at the government over the arrest that you mentioned? What's the deal?
I think this is a bigger issue. And so like the CNBCs of the world, the U.S. mainstream media are trying to say it's retribution for the kidnapping of Maduro. So they're trying to use this to implicate Maduro for, you know, as being a drug kingpin, which is complete balderdash, as we all know. That's a ridiculous talking point. So the mainstream media are spinning up some funny theories on this, but I think this is just a straight battle of control, you know, between government and you know, the cartels, and this is life in Central America and Latin America, specifically Mexico and other countries too. But it's just unavoidable. These types of things happen periodically. So, and this one is particularly serious. So I don't know. I've talked to locals here. They have never seen anything like it. People have lived here for, you know, 20, 30 years. Never seen anything like this. So this is pretty unprecedented.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, that's crazy back there. I mean, for those of us that are only listening and not watching, there's a bus and a car behind Patrick, and I mean they are burned out. They're still smoldering and smoking. It looks
Yeah,
like
we'll try to
something.
get a little closer.
Yeah, it looked like something very violent happened there.
Not too close, Patrick. There could be toxic fumes
Yeah.
coming off that.
Yeah. So yeah, and then, you know, motorcycles also set fire. So this is done strategically around the city in order to block trade and commerce and traffic and so forth. So they're sending a statement to the government that, you know, this is a major power struggle, basically, that's now expressed itself on the streets of this major Mexican thoroughfare. Now we were here originally for a conference, and the conference is finished. The second week of the conference wasn't to do with the geopolitics stuff that I was presenting, but I think that now, you know, everything's on lockdown. You know, so we're probably, everyone's making their way back. You know, to, you know, the order from the government here is shelter in place. So as it goes, this is not far from where we're staying, so it wasn't too difficult for us to get here. But this scene behind me that you see, this is all around the city. So this this is a major thing. There's a war going on of sorts here that just basically sprung up this morning, and it's pretty incredible.
Would it be strange of me to ask if this is a coincidence that this is happening now when we're looking at, you know, potentially larger, you know, conflicts breaking up or, you know, starting off and, you know, Ukraine talks falling through? Do you think there's something more than coincidental about this timing?
I, I don't know if this is connected with that, but, you know, in terms of what what the Trump administration is doing in terms of flexing its muscles around Latin America, threatening to attack various countries, abduct their presidents. There is an air of instability and unpredictability in terms of what the United States will or won't do in the near term, and I think that is, so you could say from that point of view, Hesher, that these are sort of related in that sense. So, but yeah, if you can go full screen, if you can bring me full screen, we'll get a good look at this. So, it's this situation here. So you can see it's still on fire. The tires was set about 4 hours ago, and this car over here completely burnt out. And I could go down the road and I could show you exactly the same scenes down the road at other junctures into other major zones. But this is normally teeming with activity. It's Sunday, everybody going to church, you know, people shopping, going to the beach. We're by the Marina District here, but nothing. It's a ghost town right now. This is like completely empty. Nothing's happening. Businesses are closed. Everybody's inside. Taxis aren't running. Some taxis that are running 10 times the fare. So tenfold fare increase right now for if you can get a taxi. But if you could, where would you go? There's nowhere to go because the airport's closed. The roads are closed. So it's incredible.
Unreal. I mean, I saw a big piece of I don't know what fall off the back of the vehicle there while you were talking. I mean, it's literally still coming apart as you're showing it.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So, and as you can imagine, the police are probably stretched thin. That's why they've called in the federales. as reinforcements. And there was an armed presence here the last couple of days, but that's normal in a lot of these cities. So in Mexico, you see federales patrolling the beaches, masked with wearing camo and military uniforms and heavy sort of automatic weapons and so forth. That's normal in Mexico, because there's obviously this need to keep law and order to maintain the tourist industry. But now this is taking things to another another level. And again, we spoke to locals that have lived here for a very long time, and they have never seen anything like this. They just haven't. So right now, everyone's trying to get in touch with their colleagues and try to make sure everybody's okay and present and accounted for. But for a lot of people, it's going to create obviously a huge disruption. But we don't quite know what's going to happen right now. So, but, that's behind me. You can see a motorcycle, which is here, that was absolutely torched as well. This is what's left of it. We'll get a close-up shot there. And so again,
Wow.
the gas tank is still intact, funny enough, but everything else is absolutely gone. So the crazy thing is, I saw these buses torched by peaceful democratic protesters in Tehran just last week, which is in some of that footage is in our video, which I've given you to show maybe later in this segment or in the overdrive. But it's a trip to see this after seeing it in Iran and then seeing the same thing here, but in a different iteration. So
Amazing.
absolutely crazy.
Just a week later, too. This is so bizarre, Patrick.
Yeah, I know. So
I don't.
yeah, we can't really walk past that bus behind me. You can see just over my shoulder. That's the sort of, I don't see anybody walking past that. So there might be another roadblock like this that's been imposed. And again, you can see police moving around, but they seem to be like responding to things. So, but yeah, it's a pretty incredible situation, mate. I mean, I'm kind of speechless. We literally just saw this unfold in the last hour and a half, and so this is all fresh, really just really happening now.
So you said you've spoken to some locals and they've never seen anything like this. Do any of them have any predictions or concerns that they've shared with you? What do the locals think is going to happen?
I haven't spoke much, but the locals I spoke to said this is big. The Mexican locals, the couple that we spoke to, said this is a big thing. Even and they've lived here their whole life. The expats, there's a huge expat community here. A lot of Canadians, a lot of Americans, and many of them have settled here permanently and been here for a long time. So they haven't really seen anything like this before. So we'll see how. I mean, we'll see how if the government's able to kind of get control of the situation. By the end of the day or by tomorrow, we'll see, and then maybe we can evaluate the success of this at that point. But at the moment, it's just we don't have a lot of information about where things are headed, other than there's been all sorts of warnings issued and just notifications about services that are canceled. The airport's closed. This is a major international airport as well. It deals with a lot of traffic internationally. So, and it's a major hub, hub connected to Mexico City, which is a major international airport. So that's where it's at.
All right. Wow. Okay. Well, anything else before you have to run, Patrick? I don't want to keep you too long. It's clearly a volatile situation out there.
Yeah. We probably don't want to hang out here too much longer. Probably not. It's not good. I just wanted to, give our listeners and our viewers and you guys just an update on this situation. You might very well see this if you Google this right now. This is one of the top stories in the major U.S. News agencies right now. So you'll see, but you'll see some various theories posited. Again, I think the a story will come out. How accurate that story is on the mainstream level as opposed to what really happened. We'll try to find out what the real story is, of course, but I don't know if this has any significance geopolitically, but nationally and locally, and in terms of the amount of expats and foreign nationals that are here, and obviously, I even this is like one of Mark Zuckerberg's destinations to park his super yacht, and his super yacht may be parked in the marina. I don't know if he's here or not. Um, but I did hear his yacht was either here or recently or is here, parked one of these giant yachts, super yachts. So does that have anything to do with it? I'm not sure. I wouldn't speculate that far, but suffice to say, it's extremely unusual and surprising, and for many people, pretty shocking.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably to you too, traveling through there, not expecting to see something like this.
Last thing we expected. It really was the last thing we expected. I just gave a presentation on AI propaganda and what's going on in the Middle East, and at Anarchapulco 2026, awesome event with a lot of international speakers here. So I mean, this isn't something that I was expecting to process. Got our hands full with the U.S. is about to declare war or bomb Iran, could happen any moment. So that's what my video report is that I've sent you before the show. But I wasn't expecting to do a live, Hesher. So you guys, this is
Yeah.
this isn't what I expected. Yeah. So
No,
I'm happy to be here to be able to convey this to you guys and to our audience. I'm happy to do that, but it doesn't bring me a whole lot of joy that it's happening here, and this is fresh. This is all kicked off in the last couple of hours.
Yeah.
Patrick, we know how the media likes to spin events. Would you like to go on the record now and clear the air just in case they'd like to do a spin in this direction? Do you see any evidence of like Hamas terror cells being involved with this incident?
Yeah, we can confirm that there's been no sightings of Hezbollah or Hamas here south of the border. So yeah, that we can rule that out. But don't tell that to Fox News and Newsmax, because they're probably going to run with that talking point, as is Truth Social probably. Who knows what the president's going to tweet in response? That's just another sideshow, another vaudevillian sideshow. In itself.
I just want to chip in. This has possibly got something to do with the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. I don't know if you know that, but go on.
Yes. Well said, Basil. There could be a connection there. And again, it's hard to know how to connect the dots at this point on this. So we can't say for sure, but you might not be fully out of the realms of possibility there. I mean, how would but I'd like to hear more of your thoughts on that, Basil, if you would.
Well, Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker lost its Bluetooth connection at 2:28 a.m. on February the 1st. Roughly 2 hours later, at 4:45, a small private jet departed Tucson for Puerto Vallarta, an unusually early departure for a Sunday morning. So that's basically the link. But this has also got something possibly to do with the U.S. sanctioning a resort in Mexico. I don't know if you heard about that.
No, we hadn't heard about that. What do you know what city that was in?
Yeah, just bear with me because I'm having a look. Cove Gardens. Mexico probes Cove Gardens after U.S. sanctions. Mexico's FGR and UIF are investigating Cove Gardens after it was sanctioned by the United States for being tied to the CJNG fraud network.
Okay.
Make of that what you will, but it's obviously some people are rather unhappy, put it that way. Apparently they helped defraud American tourists. This is a beachfront resort not far from where you are, apparently.
Well,
but we're guessing, aren't we? We're guessing, let's face it,
No, it's a legitimate line of inquiry, Basil, and that's definitely worth noting. Again, we'll try to put the pieces together to see if we can find some kind of a mosaic that might make some sense here. But
Treasury
yeah,
officials said 22-room Covey Gardens functioned as what they described as a vertically integrated fraud factory, and it's near where you are now on the coast there.
okay,
Interesting.
yeah,
So perhaps they got
yeah, no,
rumbled and have taken umbrage. Who knows? You know.
yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely, yeah. So, well, you guys, I don't know if you have any other further comments, guys. I can
I'll
answer a couple questions quickly.
Yeah, I'll leave you with this one, Patrick. On the other topic, a lot of people are saying, we could see military action as soon as today or tomorrow. Do you have any thoughts or predictions about what to expect? Do you think this might be a more limited operation like we've seen before, or is this the beginning of something bigger?
Are you talking about Iran?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's on that topic. That's a hard pivot from where I'm standing right here.
I know.
So, but let me just say that the comments by Steve Witkoff recently said that Trump can't understand why Iran won't capitulate. He just can't understand why won't they. He used the term capitulate. So they've really let the cat out of the bag on this, and it shows you that the United States was expecting Iran to stand down. They're expecting Iran to capitulate, and they haven't. So it's made the U.S. Have to change their calculus as to what their expectation was, to know that you can't get into an air and navy, an air power and a sea power conflict with the Islamic Republic of Iran in their backyard. The United States would not be necessarily at an advantage there, because they wouldn't be able to sustain that attack, and they would probably take losses, and they probably would have bases hit, U.S. assets hit in the region. So that and it wouldn't be a limited affair; it would be a regional war. It would drag in other state actors as well. So I think that there's a lot of people having to weigh up a lot of things in Washington, and that's a problem. So the Iran's defense is red lines have been set. They said that any attack on even a limited attack will be regarded as all-out war, and they reserve the right then to unload on U.S. positions, U.S. ships, in Israel in the region. So that has huge implications, and it would drag in Iraq, Jordan, probably Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Emirates, Bahrain, maybe Turkey. So I mean, it would be a regional war basically. So, I mean, the U.S. has to sort of weigh that up. So, in a way, Trump has been bluffing by front loading military force in the region, but not with no clear exit strategy or with no clear intention as to what the pretext for this war is. He keeps changing. He says 1 minute to save the protesters, that the 30,000 protesters that got massacred, which didn't happen. Then it's no, that we need to stop the nuclear program, which he claimed he destroyed in June last year. And no, now it's like the missiles. He can't have the missiles. Now he's back to the nuclear. Then it's zero enrichment. The people can't make up their mind. So I think a lot of people in the international community are realizing that the Trump administration is not as serious. They're not a serious diplomatic team or core, and the White House is directionless, ad hoc, inconsistent, incoherent, and quite frankly, reckless. Even U.S. allies are coming to that conclusion. Even the British are now saying the U.S. can't use Diego Garcia as a launching pad to attack Iran. Imagine that. Why? Because they know Iran has the intermediate ballistic missiles that have the range to hit Diego Garcia. That's why the British are making the statement that they don't want to be dragged into this war, because that means Cyprus, the NATO base in Cyprus, will be dragged in as well. It will be, because Israel uses it as an escape hatch anytime there's a missile attack on Tel Aviv. They send all their F-35s to Cyprus. Netanyahu goes to hide in Cyprus and Greece. So, the surrounding countries are now worried that the United States is starting a war that could easily cascade into a world war. That's not a hyperbolic exaggeration. That's a very real risk here. So I think that is the U.S. I'm surprised they haven't attacked yet. They're not going to put ground troops on the ground. So if they're just doing an air attack, it would have already happened weeks ago. But for some reason, they're building up this force, and what they're doing is creating this political inertia in America, like this fait accompli, like they have to attack. There has to be a war. And we see there's pushback from J.D. Vance and Tulsi Gabbard. I don't know how credible any of those reports are, genuine pushback. I want to see resignations. If we see resignations by some of these cabinet members in the Trump administration, then we can take those reports seriously. But until we see resignations and they're willing to take the country to war and risk a world war on the basis of no evidence and no clear intention or excuse to go to war, at least the Bush administration had the dignity and the self-respect to lie to us. And at least Saddam Hussein had chemical weapons back in the 80s. So at least there was a historical record of the thing they accused him of having, even though they didn't find them when they invaded. You see what I mean? But with Iraq, there's nothing. It's all hot air. Lies by the Trump administration, lies by Fox, lies by the media, the punditry class, lies by Israel. That's what we're left with. Sadly, and until America wakes up, until the media pull their thumb out, I don't see. I'm quite. It's unnerving to be, and I know you guys are also having seen all that you've seen over the years. This is totally unprecedented, and we're in kind of virgin territory here when it comes to trying to evaluate what the hell our governments are doing right now.
Yeah, very much so. All right, Patrick, we'll let you get indoors or off to another location, man. You've been there a bit, and the audience is starting to wonder if it's cool. So we'll let you get out of here unless you want to hang longer.
No, I'll go. If I can join you back in the overdrive from a safer location, I will do so. Again, we've got the Iran report. If you want to run that later, that's up to you. You don't have to, but that'll be interesting analysis, just as an addendum to what I just said. But anyway, thank you guys very much for holding down the fort for the Sunday Wire, and thank you everybody in the comments in the chat room for keeping it real and for supporting this network and this show. And yeah, we need you guys. We need your support now more than ever. So we really appreciate everything you guys have done during the winter drive and everything. It's been awesome. But so we'll try our best to keep the news and analysis coming for you.
All right. Thank you so much. That's Patrick Henningsen joining us live. There he goes. Okay. Thanks, Patrick. Wow. Was not expecting that today, Basil, to see, that kind of footage from Patrick today. I thought we'd be talking about Anarchapulco. Usually there's some great speakers there, but my goodness, how about the timing on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's time to hunker down in the hotel, isn't it?
Yeah.
You could catch a bullet there just by being in the wrong place at the wrong time, by the looks of it. So I think we did see a couple of what looked like women wandering around in the background, but other than that, it's pretty deserted. I don't know if there's officially a curfew or not, or whether the lockdown is just simply people deciding for themselves that it's too dangerous to go out. But either way, I would suggest Patrick gets the hell out of there as quickly as possible. Yeah,
definitely. You start even just watching a scene like that, you start analyzing everybody in the background. I saw people saying, "Is that a lookout? Is that a scout?" Every little thing is, sus.
Why is their answer for everything now is to stay indoors? That's like the ultimate answer. It's like, Godzilla's attacking the city. Stay inside.
Well, yeah, I mean, I take your point, and obviously that was the mantra during the COVID farrago, but I think the situation there at the moment kind of warrants it, Ruckus.
Yeah, I would definitely not want to be on the street very long there or at all.
Hesher and I would be putting on the body armor and getting ready, right?
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. Wow. So that was pretty unexpected. But Basil, getting back to sort of the other matter at hand here with Iran and the military buildup, my goodness. Some of the comments coming from Witkoff, Huckabee, others are just like, Mind-bending, absolutely mind-bending. Some of the snippets and quotes I've heard over this week have just been just full emperor wearing no clothes, like, we're gonna do whatever we want, basically seems to be the message.
Yeah, Patrick filmed a report into a UK column on Friday, and he said, half the time the so-called justification for this is simply that Iran is a different culture. We just don't like you. We don't, we're searching for reasons to attack you because we don't like your religion. We don't like you as a people. It's just spoiling for a fight in the most typical sort of schoolyard bully kind of way, just picking on somebody because you don't like the cut of their jib. It's absolutely disgraceful. Isn't the US Congress supposed to be consulted before war is declared? That's long since been abandoned. I saw this week some noises saying it needs to come back. Trump, is he completely owned by the Israel lobby? Is he compromised by the Epstein files? Is World War III going to start because of that? Because of the proclivities of a Mossad blackmail ring operating out of a townhouse in Manhattan? Nobody's actually asking these questions in the corporate media. That's the thing. Nobody's asking where Witkoff and Jared Kushner's loyalties lies. Or Tucker Carlson certainly asked Mike Huckabee where his loyalties lie. But I think, it's not that easy. I appreciate, but I think Tucker could have been a lot harder on Huckabee. His remarks have been condemned as dangerous and inflammatory, by the way. But it's all just words. It's all you ever get from the Arab leaders, isn't it? Some of whom, of course, are no fans of Iran at all because of the Shia-Sunni divide. I think more serious from the United States point of view is the possibility of Russia or China being drawn in some way, probably only diplomatically. We just have to hope that nothing's going to come of it. Simple as that. We've been at this crisis point before. Yes, there was an exchange of fire last year, but the attack was imminent a month ago, and another attack was imminent 6 weeks ago, and they didn't happen. So we just have to hope that continues to be the case. That the diplomatic pressure from other members of NATO, have some effect. I was surprised and heartened to see that the British government doesn't want to allow either RAF Fairford in England or Diego Garcia being used by the US, which would be necessary apparently for the kind of assault they'd be looking for. Let's hope the rest of NATO is wagging its finger at Trump and saying, the reason why the UK don't want to do it is it's against something called international law, apparently, this kind of reckless aggression. Wow, suddenly Britain has rediscovered international law after the complete evisceration of Gaza. The irony layers are just heaped upon each other, aren't they?
Yeah, international law, declarations of war. Ruckus, I saw some people on Capitol Hill pretty upset. Thomas Massey usually at the top of this list lately. So there's such a small handful of names that sort of dissent against the escalation without end. But it was weird to me, Ruckus, to see sort of the old argument come back. The old constitutional argument. Oh, that old chestnut, that pesky constitution. But they have these war powers acts, and they just flaunt them in our faces now, don't they? It's pretty amazing.
Massey brought that up, and Trump went on like an absolute tirade, like he was some sort of traitor. I'm like, dude, the guy just keeps these people keep bringing up the Constitution, and y'all are freaking out. And I'm like, it's like garlic to a vampire. You just mention anything in the Constitution, and the Trump admin's like, it's like terrible. It's really sad to say, but yeah, no, it's a lot of the same. It's like what's different? There's to me, the buildup is the big one. I'm like, well, okay, so if they're not going to do the thing, because we've seen, like, Trump always chickens out, this and that, whatever. I was accusing him of being a puppet, but his puppet masters apparently don't know what they're doing, according to the analysis from Patrick, because it's not Trump that are making these decisions, right? I mean, or is he just a wild bull in a China shop? Regardless, that many military assets out there all squeezed together in that little corridor area is bad news bears for any false flag attack. Like anything, a sailor could fart and an explosion happens and they can say, oh, look what happened, Iran did it, here we go. So I really think that the buildup is setting the stage for the major event that is going to be the official catalyst that starts the war. That's what I'm concerned with. So that's why we're not going to see them just invade. Something has to happen first, right? Well, since they're there, wouldn't it be real easy if somebody, does something or something happens or they say it does, and then there we go. We're off to the races.
The Guardian today is reporting fresh protests at Iranian universities, including the Mashhad University of Medical Science and 2 other Tehran universities. And the report meshes that together with Iran refusing to export its 300-kilogram stockpile of highly enriched uranium, but it is willing to dilute the purity of the stockpile it holds under the supervision of the International Atomic Energy Agency. This proposal will be the heart of the offer Iran is due to make to the US over the next few days. And then in the next sentence, it's the news came as fresh protests erupted, as if students who may or may not be paid actors of a foreign power protesting against their own government at a university is somehow in any way related to the possibility of the start of hostilities. These two things have got nothing to do with each other. There are lots of protests in the UK and the United States, good heavens, but we don't therefore big up countries that are threatening to bomb the United States and use the ICE protests or protests on the streets of Britain to encourage other countries to launch wars of aggression. It's really, really scurrilous way of meshing two things that are completely unrelated together to associate, ever more in the public mind, the idea that, as ultimately was the case with Iraq, where they found no weapons of mass destruction and Tony Blair's fallback position was there. But well, he was a bad guy anyway, that there's the same thing is happening here. Well, the mullahs are awful anyway. So, regardless of whether or not they make the right deal, look, there are people protesting and therefore they should be toppled, it's just appalling,
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And I saw what, looked suspiciously like overinflated numbers of violence too. See a lot of that, thousands dead, this kind of thing. It's
that was all made up. Yeah.
Here's a comment I want to highlight and get you guys' take on, especially considering, I think back to Operation Jade Helm and things like that people like Alex Jones and others made a whole big, FEMA camps are opening, this is it, this is the end. We hear this kind of talking point a lot about large scale military experimentation, and I think a lot of times people don't really understand that large scale military experimentation is happening year round, all over the place, internationally, joint operations, that kind of thing. And most all the time, it's just exactly that: a military operation, a training operation, testing new gear, fielding stuff, testing, tactics, techniques, procedures with other, commands and stuff like that. But this particular one is a little concerning because it's like there's a known military operation, experimental operation, joint operation going on in the area between Russia, China, and Iran. So what are we doing? We're like sending our, 2 aircraft carrier fleets into this zone. I mean, you know what I mean? It's almost like kind of poking the bear here a little bit, or at least setting up a situation that makes people ask questions like this. What about, USS Liberty 2.0 so they can pass Patriot Act 2.0? I think a lot of us are kind of asking that question, thinking that. What do you think, Adam?
I think also another thing that nobody seems to consider. It makes sense when we watch it in movies. What's a good example? One of the Die Hard movies. I can't remember which one, but they set up fake bombs inside the schools, kept all the cops busy, and while the cops are busy, they went and pulled off a major heist. So we have our, like, the vast majority of our military superiority happening all in one, again, concerted, concentrated area, which would make it incredibly difficult for them to respond in another area. Like, say, oh, I'm just throwing it out there here back at home. There's always that to consider. But anyways, I'm sure ICE will keep everybody safe, right? I can't shake the feeling that they put all that stuff there intending for something bad to happen to some of our equipment. And which is great, because then we can build new ones. It's good for jobs. So don't worry, everybody. World War III, it's good for jobs. And all that stuff. No, this is ridiculous and scary and frightening. And we mentioned Massey. It seems like he, maybe one or two other people I couldn't even name. That's how sad it is. The state of affairs with politics out here. Yeah, they don't seem to want to stop this or slow the roll or invoke the powers of the Constitution to protect everybody from whatever hell is coming our way, thanks to whoever's pulling the strings of Donald Trump.
Yeah. Basil, what about you, man? What do you think about the potential for fake flaggery or narrative spinning, or heaven forbid, loss of life?
Well, wars are often used as a pretext for greater surveillance and the doubling down of the national security state at home, aren't they? Because first of all, you need to round up anybody that might be an actor for the enemy. So, does this mean Iranians will be detained? But yeah, just generally, it's an opportunity to pass legislation of a particularly draconian nature, all in the interests of national security. It's extraordinary. It's one of those magic words, or two words, isn't it, that can be used to justify anything, rather like terrorism. You manage to stick that on somebody and you can disappear them or assassinate them because they're a terrorist, and no further investigation or justification is required. Likewise, in times of war, national security becomes even more, if it were possible, a heightened state of alert and all the rest of it. And so you get all the spooks running around saying we need to clamp down on this and we need to clamp down on that. And, these days it may mean clamping down on dissent, clamping down on, independent media narratives. We know the Israelis are desperate to clamp down on social media, on the internet in general, left, right, and center, to stop people pointing things out. And, there are doubtless people who would be quite happy to see a war, not only because they glory in the slaughter, but also because it might provide them with the opportunity to shut down all sorts of platforms that say things that they don't like, including this one.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like they're going to shut down X, right? That's
no.
not
I
going
mean, I
anywhere.
would imagine Musk could be lent on.
Yeah.
Look, I don't like speculating about all these worst case scenarios all the time. As I just said, the Iranians are offering to dilute their enriched uranium. This might be the off-ramp that Trump needs, I mean, in all this, of course, the hypocrisy, the fact that Israel's not only got nuclear weapons, but has never allowed any IAEA inspections, and has this sort of secret Samson doctrine of blowing up the whole planet if Israel looks like being dismantled itself, and that's never discussed. That's as if that doesn't exist. You never see, Tucker, Mr. Trick. You never see politicians being put on the spot and asked about Israel's nuclear weapons. Why not?
Isn't there a treaty too that they're not party to intentionally?
Yeah, they're not party to the proliferation treaty.
That's a bit on the nose. It's it's obvious, isn't it?
Oh,
People
the proliferation treaty is anti-Semitic. We should know that, Ruckus.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Everything is, right?
Yeah, that's too antiseptic to follow, for sure.
That's right.
Yeah, we can't have that. I was looking up just back to Puerto Vallarta for a second here. I was looking for some headlines and news on it, and I'm not finding much at all. It is maybe my interwebs are not
The
like anyone else.
Anarchapulco people who are still in the area, though, ironically enough, are all over it on the X
Yeah.
feeds. And I'm like, well, isn't that interesting that took place when there were a bunch of gonzo independent underground journalists there to film it all? That's strange. I don't know.
A little concerning, huh? Might be cause for concern for some people.
Are they trying to the photo bomb some propaganda onto everybody? No,
Yeah.
I just want to say a bit about our beloved former Prince Andrew.
Oh, I was just about to ask you about that, Basil.
Ditto.
So in America here, we've arrested all of and investigated all of nobody since the new files came out. But surprisingly to many Americans in the UK, somebody was arrested. What happened?
Supposedly, the first time a close member of the royal family, somebody in the upper echelons of the royal family, has been arrested since the arrest of King Charles I in 1648, or whatever it was. He, of course, had his head chopped off within a few months. And it's ironic, no king has been called Charles since his successor, Charles II, until the present one, Charles III. No Charleses for a few hundred years. Perhaps they thought it was bad luck. But anyway, on his 66th birthday, interestingly enough, the former Duke of York has already been stripped of that title, and indeed stripped of the title Prince Andrew. He was arrested when 7 police cars descended on his house in Sandringham in an unprecedented show of strength, and he was taken away and had about a 10-hour, what one paper described as a flame grilling, and a photograph of him leaving the police station semi-reclining in the back of a Range Rover shows a really haunted man. I don't know if you can find that picture. It's been all over the internet. He really does look absolutely terrified. Well, he has every reason to be. He is being investigated for misconduct in public office, which, if that comes to being charged and prosecuted successfully, could mean a lengthy prison sentence. But there's all sorts of other stuff coming out as well. And his fear, no doubt, is that the royal protection officers and other members of the royal household are going to be quizzed about his behavior, about the possibility of Stansted Airport being used as a trafficking hub for women and girls who then went to, believe it or not, Buckingham Palace to see Andrew. One's got to look a little bit deeper. It's an extraordinary scalp. We all know that the corporate media, society as a whole, loves a sacrificial lamb every now and then. An individual has to be vilified and hung out to dry, and becomes almost the embodiment of all evil. Well, it's certainly Epstein, and now by association, it's increasingly becoming the man known as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Worth remembering that's a made-up surname. His father was from the house of Schleswig-Holstein-Sonderburg-Glucksburg, so he's really something like that. Andrew Glucksburg, possibly Andrew Oldenburg. It's not easy to work out if he used his father's surname, but anyway, his abysmally arrogant behavior made him extremely unpopular with palace staff. It's come out today from one of the former policemen that his nickname in the palace was a 4-letter word which refers to a private part of the female anatomy. That's what he was known as, the blank. I'm sure you know. In other words, when police were talking to each other, guarding the periphery of Buckhouse or Windsor or Sandringham, and they said, has so-and-so arrived? They always referred to Andrew as the 4-letter word. So that gives you an idea of what people who had to deal with him every day thought of him.
It was the "see you next Tuesday" word, right?
That's right. Indeed. That's just what he was known as. That was his moniker.
Wow.
Which makes his other nickname, Randy Andy, seem positively, jovial by comparison. Gordon Brown, the former Prime Minister, is demanding a police investigation into whether or not he used taxpayer-funded jets and RAF bases to meet Jeffrey Epstein and possibly some of the people that Epstein provided for him. More photographs have emerged of him on the floor and in all sorts of unpromising looking positions. But when they came to throw him out of the Royal Lodge, which is a very impressive mansion in the grounds of Windsor, apparently he said, "You can't do this to me. I'm the Queen's second son." But they are doing it to him. He's famously arrogant, very heavily reliant on deference and protocol to sort of jealously guard his own position and status. But it's now turned full circle. He is the most unpopular person in Britain. He's become so toxic. He's radioactive. He could go to Iran and they could use him in a reactor. He's so unpopular, including with his own family. The stories are his daughters have both refused to have anything more to do with him. He's become estranged from Epstein's other good friend, his former wife, formerly the Duchess of York, now known simply as Sarah Ferguson. And he doesn't appear to have a friend in the world. I mean, he must have some old mates or something from somewhere that he could talk to. And a lot of people are speculating that he needs to be on suicide watch, because it's hard to imagine how somebody's whole world, they felt they were protected. He felt, I'm sure, that he was above the law. You see, there's a thing called the State Immunity Act, which means that the sovereign, now Charles, is immune from prosecution for all kinds of civil and criminal matters. But the legislation is very vaguely worded and extends to members of his own household, but not, it would seem now, Prince Andrew. Charles is saying that the law must take its course, that he will cooperate fully with any investigation. There are stories that Andrew's staff at the Royal Lodge were destroying documents before they left, keen to get rid of any incriminating evidence, obviously. So this is ongoing. He may yet be charged with other offences related to human trafficking. And his biographer, Andrew Lowney, whose book entitled The Rise and Fall of the House of York, has got an awful lot of extra information about it. He says that Andrew could be charged with treason, because if it turns out he sold classified information that he managed to get his hands on, the same might apply to the other senior member of the government who was sacked a couple of weeks ago, but I don't want to get in trouble by making accusations. Anyway, treason is a possibility, which, I mean, if the second, if the king's brother was accused of treason, we're in sort of, Wars of the Roses times, where it's sort of medieval, that the
I'm
king's
curious,
brother.
Basil. I'd heard that what you just mentioned there, the treason angle, that is legally speaking. I don't know anything about British law, so you can confirm this or not. But I'd heard from quote unquote experts on the tubes or whatever that is how the royal immunity goes out the window for him. Because when there's only one charge that can be placed against you that says, you can basically get away with anything except treason. I thought. That's what I had heard.
Yeah, no, well, it seems that he can also be charged with misconduct in public office, and he could be charged with
But all
trafficking.
things related to the office and government things. It's like he's not going to get in trouble because he like raped or murdered anybody or, you know, trafficked humans. They only care because, oh, well, he did it on property that belonged to the royals or something silly. You know what I mean? Right.
Well, and he passed documents, it seems, to Jeff Epstein. Why he did that, why he thought that was necessary, I've absolutely no idea. Maybe he did it for money. You know, his ex-wife has always been short of money. And we know Epstein gave her some money. So why on earth he would have done that, I've absolutely no idea. But that's the possibility, you know. But all these matters are now sub judice, so we shouldn't say too much.
So Andrew was I don't remember his exact position title, but he was like a commerce ambassador or something like that, right?
Yeah, he had a job as a trade envoy, as the sort of spare, as it were, Charles being the heir to the throne. Then in his 40s and 50s, after he'd left the RAF, where apparently he was a very average helicopter pilot, it was a case of, well, what job is he supposed to do? And so they dreamt up this idea of him as a trade envoy. I think it might have been during the Blair government. And the idea really is that you can get countries who are impressed by Britain's royal family, particularly in the Middle East and the developing world, places like that. You can get deals off them because, well, hey, look, you've got a royal here shaking your hand and sitting next to you at dinner and being all matey. So, you know, you're now in with the super in crowd, the royals. Do you know what I mean? Because he didn't have any business experience or any known negotiating skills or anything. It was really just trading on his name and his status. And there are questions being asked about brown envelopes and, you know, what exactly went on, you know, the extent to which perhaps Epstein might have been involved in any of that. So it was always a bit of a nonsense, him as trade envoy. It was basically, seemed to me to be centered around selling arms to Middle Eastern potentates. That was it, you know, buy our, you know, his main thing was trying to get people to buy our weapons.
Muted, Hesher.
Yeah, thanks, Basil. I've seen a lot of talk about that topic in the files and the emails for sure. Weapon running, influence peddling, you know,
That's
wielding
right.
geopolitical power. Like, these are the things they don't want people looking at in the Epstein releases, you know, those kind of things, because they lead to policy, they lead to war, they lead to death, they lead to crimes of, you know, financial crimes and violent crimes and that kind of thing. And yeah, I don't know. Ruckus, you asked a couple of good questions and made some observations in our back chat while Basil was breaking this down about, you know, not just the numerology, but also the scapegoat factor.
Well, yeah, I mean, but they're both kind of semi-related because the concept of the fall guy patsy in this particular case is what's known as a scapegoat. And if you do some research into the origin of that, some of our favorite old friends pop back into the equation. But yeah, an Old Testament practice where the believers, I won't use the J word, would put their sins upon the goat and sacrifice the goat, and therefore their sins were forgiven because they've been placed on the goat instead, right? Yada, yada. And then, of course, Christians believe that Jesus was the ultimate scapegoat because he sacrificed himself for the sins of everybody, or yada. So anyways, but that's where that term comes from. But it's interesting that, Basil, did you notice, I know you reported 7 police cars, but all the headlines and reports I'd seen that there were 6 cops that manhandled him, Prince Andrew, that is, the former prince, on his 66th birthday, and that this whole thing took place, his arrest, exactly 666 days after the running of the those bloody horses down the streets of London. Remember that? So that's very strange. Why did they wait until this day and for these symbols to pop up like that? I don't think it's by coincidence. But then again, I'm just a crazy conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, well, you're right. It is extraordinary coincidence. I mean, for me, the arrest on the 66th birthday, apart from anything else, was that designed to extra humiliation, you know, that even on your birthday we're gonna come and nab you, you know. The 666 days since those horses went berserk on the Mall, Well, you know, I don't know how or why that happened, apart from the fact that the Royals have got hundreds of horses, and sooner or later, some of them are going to go berserk somewhere along the line. Yeah, Andrew has become the scapegoat par excellence. He really has. It's
Yeah.
quite extraordinary that nobody is attempting to defend him or his reputation or that of his ex-wife. She tried to sell access to him for £500,000, believe it or not very long ago. As if anybody, who in their right mind would want to pay 500 grand to meet Andrew, you know. It speaks to some extent to the sort of devil makes work for idle hands with somebody like Andrew. You know, people say Charles struggled while waiting 50 years, 60 years or something to become king. And even more so with Andrew. But that generation of the royal family are not known for their brains, put it that way. So, you know, somebody with more imagination than Andrew could perhaps have put his title and his standing to, much better use. We could have done something a bit more constructive with his time, you know. But it was well known from an early age that he was a highly libidinous individual. He used to be allowed into Gordonston, the boarding school in Scotland, where he and Charles went after he'd left the school. It's a mixed boarding school of girls there as well. And he was allowed access to girls' rooms after he'd left the school, apparently. Andrew Lowney is going to update his book entitled The Rise and Fall of the House of York with a lot more material that lawyers told him he couldn't publish first time round. But now that it's open season on Andrew, he's planning on revealing a lot more. And more will continue to come out. Andrew thought he had cauterized this whole thing when he paid off Virginia Giuffre. Was it £14 million or $40 million or something? Somebody he'd never met, you know. The Queen gave him the money, and she was paid off. And I think he hoped that would be the end of the matter, but it's anything but. And the whole thing's going to only get deeper and darker the longer it goes on.
What?
Assuming this isn't a one-off incident where like we only see one person in the UK going down for the Epstein files, I imagine that they'll give us a little scapegoat patsy here eventually in America. Do you guys have any predictions of who it might be? Because I'm thinking they might be willing to throw Bill Gates under the bus, but I don't know.
Name on top of my mind.
Well, Les Wexner made a deposition to Congress, didn't he? Basically saying I was the victim of a con man in Epstein. And that seems to have satisfied people, you know. Yeah, Bill Gates would certainly be a candidate. It's expected that Peter Mandelson will be arrested at some point in the future. A lot of people are expressing surprise that he hasn't been arrested so far for the same charges as Prince Andrew, misconduct in public office. I think it's inevitable that he'll be arrested. Whether or not these arrests lead to charges and subsequent prosecutions, who knows? It's fantastic for the tabloids to have all this, you know, absolutely having a field day with it all, you know, what we call in England the red top newspapers and the gossip columns and the rolling news services, you know, they're just gobbling it all up. But it's got limited hangout written all over it, you know. It's that this is look how awful this guy is, and don't look at anything like human sacrifice, heaven's sakes, or the mass, you know, the torturing of children in order to harvest their adrenochrome or loosh or whatever, you know,
illegal gun running and illegal drug running, like all the things that a normal person would get stitched up for big time if they did.
Well, and all the deep, dark stuff, you know, Zorro Ranch, baby farming, gene editing, you know, the really, really repulsive stuff, which is closer to the surface now than it ever has been.
So what does this mean for trust in British institutions, Basil? I mean, this is like the king's brother, isn't it? Does this, is there sort of a final death gasp of, trust in this institution, or has that moment already passed? I mean, what do you think it means for the country moving forward, especially if Andrew, like you just said, he may get to be the worst guy in the world, totally radioactive, but he gets to live out the rest of his days in some castle or manor somewhere, whereas, you or I been accused of a fraction of those things, we'd be living it out in a 6x6 cell.
Well, he may yet end up in a 6x6 cell. The possibility of him going to prison is by no means off the table. He left this elaborate mansion, the Royal Lodge, a few weeks ago, as I say, under protest, apparently claiming that, as they dragged him out, kicking and screaming, "I'm the Queen's second son, you can't do this to me." But they did it. And he'd been living on a rather modest farmhouse on the Sandringham estate. Sandringham is a country house owned by the monarch in Norfolk, sometimes described as the most comfortable house in England. And it's a jolly nice place too, by the looks of it. And it's a huge estate with inevitably, birds to shoot and everything else that the royals like to do, and a number of farms on the estate. And he'd been moved to one of these farmhouses. Now, that didn't stop some locals putting up A4 posters in the area saying, "Watch out, there's a sweaty nonce around here now," So that's how bad his reputation is. There's nothing of it left at all. But that was the king's idea, or rather, King was sort of forced into doing that, getting him out of the Royal Lodge. That couldn't continue with him living in this huge mansion. He had to be moved to more modest surroundings. But then that might not be enough. The royals have been playing catch up with this ever since the beginning, reacting to each development rather than getting ahead of the game. Headlines this week like, "This is the end of the old monarchy," and question marks over Charles's position himself. The fact that, he may have to resign, particularly if Andrew does end up going to prison. There's no suggestion that he's guilty of any wrongdoing, rather than just sort of incompetence or semi-incompetence in the handling of the whole thing. In which case, of course, William would be king. And in terms of the soap opera, that might be the best thing to happen, because that whole generation, the Andrew Charles generation, would be swept aside, and you'd have this lovely boy, Diana's son, married to Catherine. She's got her own problems, but the children all look normal. They're essentially a different nuclear family from the previous generation. I've seen William talking about how they talk about their feelings as a family. Well, there was none of that with the previous generation, let alone the descendants of King George V. So the whole thing would look a lot more modern with William in charge. He's supposed to be more angry than anyone at the reputational damage to the monarchy, because he's got to carry the whole thing forward when Charles goes. If Charles, as is usually the case, carries on the throne until he dies of natural causes, then William's got how long? 5, 10, 15 years? Nobody knows. Charles arguably not very well, but it might be that Charles falls on his sword, so to speak, in order to make a clean break and, give the monarchy a sort of fresh start with William. There's also likely to be, it's highly likely there's going to be an act of Parliament to remove Andrew from the line of succession. At the moment, he's number 8, behind William and his 3 children, and behind Harry and his 2 children. But if they were all in the same plane one day and it went down, then Andrew would be king. So nobody's having that. So they're going to bring in an act of Parliament to remove him from the line of succession. But that requires the agreement of 14 other states where the king is still head of state. including Canada and Australia, places like this. So that's quite it's not easy to do that. It's quite a big job.
Yeah. Ruckus, you might want to respond to this comment here. Crisis in UK is designed to get us to trust AI more than institutions. What do you think?
Well, that's our running thesis right now. And we're probably looking at all current crises through that lens, because it is the ultimate solution to a problem that they have created. So yes, yeah, there's probably that lens to it. I don't know how much of that is that the ultimate goal. Maybe it is. I mean, because nothing else makes any sense. I keep going back and forth. I keep asking on this program and others. It's like, is the Epstein files the distraction from something else, or is all the other things the distraction from the Epstein files? Basil, you mentioned that we've got all these sensational headlines, and the media is just eating this up. You would think, like, if there was a massive hush hush quiet, we wouldn't even hear about it. Like, would we? You know what I mean? They would quietly do something. Like what's the point? Why are we allowed to talk about this? Why is this in our face? It's like, all the things. I can't help but feel like something else, there's another shoe that is about to drop. But if there is something that weaves them all together, yes, there seems to be a massive erosion of trust in all of our institutions, and the solution is ready to go, because we keep hearing about it from the big tech bros who have, literally got their hooks inside of all of the current administrations all around the world. All of their toys are being used in the theater of war and censorship and all of the things. So yeah, maybe the ultimate goal is just finally to have everybody say, you know what, we're sick of the government, we're sick of the media, we're done. We want to turn over the control to the machines. Maybe the proverbial they want us to beg for it. We've seen that happen before, where they're like, people were arguing like, we don't want cops with body cameras coming to my house and seeing what we got inside. And then bad stuff happened and cops are killing and beating up. People are like, well, we don't want cops out on the streets unless they have body cameras on. Like the people demanded the thing that they were fighting against not that long before then. So yes, again, maybe there is something to the AI as the ultimate solution to all of the problems and crises and distractions that we're seeing today.
Yeah, it's certainly a running thread, that's for sure. Let me address this comment real quick here. I'm peed off at seeing how many of my comments disappear when I refresh. That's not on our end. We're not doing any of that. I noticed that.
I have an answer for that, because it's a simple solution and most people don't realize this. There is a filterable tab on YouTube that goes between top messages and all messages. And if you're not on the right one, yep, you don't see your message. So make sure you're looking at all messages or live messages. That should make that fixed.
Which can be even more complicated if you're watching the show on like a Roku or an Apple TV or something, because you got to find that stupid thing that even brings up the live comments in the first place in their little proprietary menus. It's a thing. I was frustrated by that the other night on Jamie Hanshaw's show. I did Out of This World with her on Friday, and I loaded 7 or 8 comments. I was telling Spore, I was like, what the hell? Look at my phone. I just put this comment in here and it's not on the screen. Like, I was taking it very personal, but I'm going to try that, Ruckus. Thanks. Maybe that'll help me. And
that's not the ultimate fix. There are some weird things. It happens to me a lot when I leave a comment on one device and then I go to my other device where I'm still watching it, and then I don't see my comment, but I go back to my other device and it's still there. So I'm like, I know there's some weird stuff going on with YouTube. Technology is not 100%, although the tech bros would like us to think it is. Yeah,
we're also, and someone else probably has noticed today or last week or for the last couple of weeks, if you're watching shows on X, there's it's just not on people's timelines. The only way to find it is to look for that glowing bubble in the upper right hand side to know that someone's live, but it's not showing up on our timelines and all that. So also be sure and go to the websites, especially if you watch on X, because we do find those links and put them on the show pages for you. But yeah, there's definitely been some ghosts in the machine, Ruckus, and it's they just updated all these AIs too. All the AIs have all these new capabilities, and somehow at the same time, as a coincidence, our capabilities got a little bit smaller.
I don't think that's by accident, sir.
Oh, it's not a bug, it's a feature?
How about that?
Who would have thunk it? Well, guys, we don't need to worry about any of this. We don't need to worry about any of this because 2 of the most trustworthy presidents we've ever had, Barack
Don't you
Obama
dare. Don't you
and
dare.
Donald J. Trump, say aliens are real. So, maybe we don't need to worry about all this stuff. We can just, let them sort of launder the alien gate to us, and we can all just, shelter in place till we figure out what life looks like after disclosure. Won't that be fun, Basil? I mean, they're real.
Well, it's only going to be a very, 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 very limited hangout. Anything that Trump comes out with, yeah. It's too early to speculate. I don't know what files are going to be released. I very much doubt that they'll be going as far as what the former head of the Israeli space program said. Do you remember that story that broke 5 or 6 years ago?
Oh, remind us, please.
Well, I want to get his name up.
I do vaguely recall, because we've kind of been tracking this topic as like a little side hobby for the last 5 years or so, and just you can just see it's like a sine wave. Some weeks it just hits its peak, and like boom, you're seeing everybody talking about it, and we're in one of those weeks.
Yeah. Eshed is his name. He claims that Earth has been in contact with the Galactic Federation for decades. That there's a base inside the moon, and all sorts of things have been going on. Former Israeli space chief. This was 5 years ago, and the story was run by NBC, amongst others. Haim Eshed. That Earth has been involved with extraterrestrial species who've been influencing world events from behind the scenes for decades, and anything that Trump reveals is likely to be, oh well, there are a few blurry pictures that we're not quite sure what they are, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? That'll be, oh, okay, right. So
yeah, we'll get some more fuzzy pictures from drones at night, and we'll all this good stuff for sure.
Yes, exactly. Just loads
Speaking
of drones.
Remember the New Jersey drones?
Yeah, do we have an update on the New Jersey drone story there, Ruckus?
We got an update. See, Trump promised that he was going to clarify and get to the bottom of what was going on with those drones, and he sent out Karine Jean-Pierre to give everybody the answer. Like, we looked into it, and we determined that the drones were a mixture of non-commercial flights and hobbyist drones. Yeah. Promises made, we got no answer, literally no answer, but it's officially in the books. Like, Trump made a promise that he was going to find out about the drones, and we found out about the drones. Is he going to do the same thing with the UFOs? He's going to be like, yep, I promise I'm going to reveal UFOs. So here it is. Here's a tic tac. It's a tic tac. We call it a tic tac. There you go. Promises made, promises delivered.
Yeah.
What?
It's like there's a fill in the blank book, or one of those what do they call those kids
Mad
books?
Libs.
There's a Mad Lib of Trump's campaign promises. You can just literally, like, with a phrase, just throw a Mad Lib in there, and
which is an ironic name when you think about it, because making us all turn into Mad Libs, right?
Yes.
I mean, there's a whole subject of exopolitics. Dr. Michael Saller has a YouTube channel talking to endless whistleblowers about the so-called secret space program. The suggestion being that, or the thesis rather, being that in addition to whatever NASA are up to, there's also a much, much, much higher tech space program which is hidden from public view, completely hidden, where you find people like David Wilcock talking about this. Some of the whistleblowers have discredited, but it goes back decades to Alternative 3 and all this kind of stuff. And there's an industry built up around it. Is it all built up on nothing? I don't know. But if you chuck in the innumerable, and I do mean innumerable, encounters that people certainly claim to have had. Again, there's a channel run by a guy called Preston Dennett on YouTube, who documents face-to-face encounters that people all over the world have had with what appear to be alien spacecraft and their occupants. Thousands of such encounters. Well, one common response is to say, well, actually, all these are produced by government black ops sites. None of them are from anywhere else other than Earth. It all just comes from Earth and is designed to bamboozle people. Well, really, thousands of such encounters? That would seem a bizarre thing for anybody to choose to do. So when faced with personal testimony, this happened to me, I had this experience. You can say individuals are lying. Of course you can. I made it up. It's a dream, hallucinogens, but you're talking in almost all cases about very sober people who've gained nothing by claiming that they've had these encounters. And there are thousands of such claims. So, if we just simply choose to disbelieve thousands of people because what they're saying falls outside of our idea of what reality looks like, well, okay, you stay within the confines of your reality. But if you want to be a bit more intellectual about it, then you have to take testimony at face value.
It's such a difficult place too, because we have since Roswell, basically we've documented the government psyoping people with this so many times. So it's like it becomes a needle in a haystack for me to try to parse. Like I'm good at finding people that I think I can trust or at least use as a source of reference. And I'm also good at if I spend enough time watching someone's output or reading their stuff, like, finding if there's a hole in it or if there appears to be proper, you know what I mean? It's not easy to parse like the charlatans from the people that have actual stories. So yeah, but it's, to see Obama come out and say that, and then Trump come out and say he shouldn't have done that, he broke the law, this whole like right left dialectic thing they're trying to presidential dialectic they're trying to wrap around it this week is a little much for me. I think, Basil, I'm with you. I mean, I grew up very, very open-minded about it, but now that I've exposed so many psychological operations, I was saying on Boiler Room last week, like I could be visited by a little green person and he could take me in his ship and take me outside the atmosphere, and I would still be sitting there wondering if this is some sort of government homunculus whipped up in a laboratory or something like that to psyop me. You know what I mean? Like, I think I'm so black-pilled now, I could be sitting shotgun on the UFO, buzzing past Mars and still going, you're a government lab homunculus, aren't you?
As one of our listeners in our Discord chat said, I think it was Whitebird, fake until proven gay. Right? Anyways, listen, there's a good chance that they won't do this in our lifetimes, gentlemen, in the current ethos, with all things considered geopolitically speaking. Yes, I'm going to mix my peanut butter and my chocolate here. So if they reveal that aliens are real, that kind of throws out the big argument that Israel likes to rely heavily upon, that being that they are God's chosen people. Because once they do, quote unquote, reveal aliens, that's the big can of worms that gets opened up, is the story of creation. Who made us? Was it the aliens or was it God? And, if there's any doubt about that, it's going to be even harder to convince people to be pro-Zionist. I'm just saying.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a very valid point.
Yeah. They could shoot themselves.
So in that case, bring on the aliens. Let's do it.
Right. Will the aliens bring like the true history of mankind, right? Like we'll get some ancient aliens crap and it'll be like a panspermia theory. And then we can just reorient our entire species around that and let the AIs make us a new religion that is a more panspermia based.
You're not far off from a long-running conspiracy theory that a lot of the military operations that have been taking place in the military East are cover to plant evidence, fake evidence, false flag history that the aliens were real and that they made us and that Jesus was a fraud and a charlatan and all these crazy ideas. But I wouldn't put it past them, people. I really wouldn't put it past them.
So was it a weather balloon or not? I mean, I hate to go back to the beginning, but goodness gracious.
Well, look, look at Lieutenant Colonel Philip Corso's book, The Day After Roswell.
Yeah.
A lot of people said that was, should have been pulped because it revealed too much. He was at the Pentagon and charged with back engineering some of the technology from the Roswell craft and giving it to commercial US developers. People say microwave ovens and transistors are amongst the things that came out of Roswell, you know. So, but it's exhaustively documented book, and he was a colonel in the US Army at the time that he says he was. Was it a work of fiction? Why would an army colonel write a work of fiction like that? The point is that you can have a book like that that's out there, that's extant, that's in the public domain, but unless it appears on the news at 10 on CBS Evening News, unless it gets into the public consciousness more generally, it doesn't really matter, you know. Oh, so what if there is a book that says that the US Army back engineered all sorts of technology from the crash craft at Roswell? You can either believe it or not believe it. The fact that no song and dance has been made about the book, that it just languishes on a bookshelf, or means that most people think, well, it can't be true, because if it was true, it would have been all over the news. Really? You know.
Yeah, that seems to be the circular end point of the discussion with a lot of people. But maybe that's changing now. Everybody's so sucked into the political dialectics, and now even
I mean,
UFOs are political.
Certainly when it comes to all the space stuff. I mean, I grew up when Star Trek was on its first run, for heaven's sakes, you know. But younger generations have been certainly immersed in a sort of science fiction / gaming reality, a lot of them, from very early age, haven't they? You know, that at some point in the future, we'll be intergalactic, you know, that all this isn't just fiction, it's a sort of projection into the future, and one day it'll all come to pass. So, you know, the generation, certainly sort of my parents' generation and before, much more difficult for them to accept the idea of alien life ever visiting the UK, but subsequent generations, not so much.
Yeah. I mean, our current, mythology is basically science fiction. You know,
that's right.
That's all we have, really. We're not telling stories around the fireside anymore. We're not. The only stories that are passed down are, your grandpa's Star Wars VHS tape, and it's also dystopia oriented, and it's like
that's another matter. The fact that all these visions of the future are so horrific that they involve sort of, flesh-eating monsters and
murderous robots,
uber fascist.
Yeah,
uber fascist dictatorships. Do you know?
Always
what I mean?
Authoritarian, right?
Always horrendous. Nobody ever paints a sort of wonderfully harmonious picture of a future society where technology has freed everyone from drudgery and everybody lived happily after. You know.
Yeah. No, that one won't sell apparently. So.
What's the word utopia mean again?
Wow, you did pull me up on that. Yeah.
Last time, yeah. Oblivion, basically
in the colloquial sense.
Yeah, oblivion in the etymological sense. All right, you guys, it's we're about at the end of the program here. I know you guys both got to get going, so we'll wrap it up. Let me just put this one on screen real quick for anyone that was like me and looking for some news stories pertaining to what's going on.
They finally caught up to Patrick.
Yeah, the mainstream, the Star, dreadedstar.com finally caught up to Patrick here.
That looks like the bus he was standing by.
It sure does. It certainly does. Mexican army killed the leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, Nemesio Ruben Osguera Cervantes El Mencho, in an operation Sunday, a federal official said. Yeah, that's quite the name there. So there you go. It has hit the news there, but you heard it here first on Sunday Wire. Basil, thanks so much for being here with us today, helping us run the ship while Patrick's gone. Anywhere you want to point everybody to find you this week?
I'll be back on UK Column on Friday, 1 p.m.
All right. Excellent. Well, thanks so much once again, Basil, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next week.
Thank you.
All right, Basil Valentine punching out. Ruckus, over to you. Any saved rounds for today's Sunday Wire before we shut it down?
No, except who do we talk to? Can we send a letter to an elected official? Can I talk to the manager? I want to play Karen for a minute. Who do I need to talk to say, let's not do a fake alien invasion? So if the aliens are real, let's do it. Let it run its course naturally. But we don't need to do fake alien invasion. Do whatever you want, guys. But that's the one thing on my list that I refuse to deal with. Okay, run another pandemic, start World War III, 4, 5. I don't care. Have Trump's clone act as president or emperor for eternity. I don't care. Anything but a fake alien invasion. That's all I got to say about that. Make sure you guys are all, guys and gals, are all checking out what we got going over there at alternatecurrentradio.com. That's where you'll find the latest episodes of Boiler Room, replays of Sunday Wire. You'll also find this guy, Ruckus, on Weaponized News under the moniker Roundabout Ruckus. We've also got friends and colleagues, co-workers of ours, as it were, in this space who make tremendously wonderful programming. A couple podcasts called Mystical American Patriot Society. I promise you've never heard or now seen anything quite like it. And our good friend Odd Man Out has been pumping them out. I know there's on a bit of a hiatus. There's one of his new ones right there. So I know the Sunday Wire viewers would love anything put out by our friend and colleague Odd Man Out. So please make sure you guys are checking that out. While you're at the website, you'll find my page for the Daily Ruckus. You'll find a link to my X account, where if you follow me, you get to see cool posts like this, because you're not going to see that on your Facebook or on the mainstream media. So make sure you're following me over there. Thanks for having me, Hesher. I'll leave everybody with the Bill Cooper quote: read everything, listen to everybody, but don't believe anything unless you prove it for yourself using your own research. Ruckus.
All right. Thanks, Ruckus. Okay, and thank you all in the comments and in the Discord over at 21stcenturywire.com, on Rumble, on BitChute, on YouTube, on X. If you can find us on X, you got to fix that. Come on, man. It's really bad. Okay, yes, so we'll be back next week. Hopefully, Patrick will be back in a place where he can run the show. And if not, Ruckus and myself and Basil will be here for you, and we'll dial him in as long as he's in a place where he can get connection. And we mean that. If you saw today's show, we absolutely mean it. If we can get interwebs, we're going to be doing some stuff. All right. That is it for this episode of Sunday Wire. All the best. We'll leave you with this one from Joseph Arthur.
Brothers and sisters, we're being divided.